Hello and welcome to GUGing 101 with Thrifty Fishing. We only have the demo of GUG right now, but it's fully playable as a game and very replayable at the moment. The daily bounties also make it very fun over in the Discord. But I'm making this video to kind of help anyone who, much like I was my first time playing, might be new to the genre, might not really understand how to play GUG or what you're supposed to be doing or the battlefield and everything and how it is. Now, I'm going to be using my preferred terms for these things. There might be more accurate ones, and I'm sure you'll figure those out along. But the main thing I want you to get from this video is just the very bare bones basics on how to play GUG and what it is you're supposed to be doing. Alright, so let's get started. Now, when you're first on the screen, and let me turn off some of these other things that might confuse you at the moment, but when you're first on this home screen, you will only probably see this new game. You'll unlock the GUG garden and the amniotic pool later, and you only have a continue button if you have quit a run without finishing it. So you should only have new game. I don't even think you'll have the quit button your first time. But since this is probably all you'll have, let's go ahead and give that a look. So when you drag your GUG into a new game, it will go ahead and generate the run that you're going to be doing. Okay, so that includes the enemies, the encounters, and the things like that. This has nothing to do with the making of the GUGs that you're going to be fighting. That happens right here in the amniotic pool. Now, you get to do this basically every other battle in GUG at the moment. There are times where you can get a bonus one of these amniotic pool encounters, but at the start, all you're going to do is Transcend. So what do? You drag your GUG again, just like you did to the new game button, to this pedestal here, and you click the Transcend button. Now this is where you're really going to be doing the most fun part of GUG, which is creating the GUGs themselves. There is a character limit here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Seems like 20 is the character limit, and it might change for numbers and other things. Let's see with letters: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, T. Yeah, so that seems about 20. I'd have to count back from Z, but close enough. But anyway, the words that you type in here are going to be determining the GUG that you create. So he is basically transcending into a new life form. Because of the power of Mother Morula here. It's like this giant moon-like GUG. As the player, you need to keep Mother Morula alive, and you do that by creating these GUGs and using them to protect her. So you can choose any words you want. They can be words related to the game, like if you want something that gains attack, you could use a term like gain attack, you know, and that would fit. You know, maybe you want a dog who gains attack. You can do that. Okay? And not only will these words determine the abilities that your GUG has, they will also determine the appearance that your GUG has. Now, in my experience, this first word is the one that affects the appearance the most, whereas everything together affects the ability of the GUG. And you can also use just a standard, what I would call like trading card game terms as well. Things like copy or remove, destroy, things like that. But for now, let's keep it very simple. Let's do something just fun. Let's do a super, because super is going to be an adjective that in my opinion means good. Let's do maybe a super demon copy. So maybe it'll make a copy of itself. Maybe it'll copy another one. We won't know until we transcend it. Now, this process takes a few seconds as the game has to decide how those words come together to be an ability. It's going to give the GUG a name. It's going to give the GUG an ability. So let's see what it says. We got Gloplin is the name. It gets +7 to its attack and +10 to its health. So we got 17 worth of ability power there. 7 to the attack and 10 to the defense. It's got enter battle effect, which says create a perfect copy of this GUG. And end round, it says both this and the duplicate lose 1 health. So this is a GUG that does damage itself. Um, this is its appearance here. It's a very spirally purple tornado-like GUG, and its eyeball is clear, it seems. So when you transcend, it will change that GUG, and it will now be there instead of the GUG that you had. You get to keep the other one, though. You only get to transcend once every time that you're here. Now, you'll move on to your first battle. The first battle is always 2 lanes. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn on those tips from earlier that I had turned off. The main one being the turn order, okay, the lane count. So in a standard run, you will have 2 lanes in the first run. So there's 1 lane here and 1 lane there. The AI, or the computer, has a backline where it stores its GUGs. You have a backline where you store your GUGs. Now your backline has these numbers on it. These first 2 slots give the GUGs 1 health if they stay there for a turn. The middle one gives them 1 attack. The fourth one gives +2 health, and the final one gives +2 attack. Now, you will have to have 5 GUGs to fill up this back line. You can't move a GUG all the way over. If you try, they'll just move right back over here. They always move to the left. That is not the case in the lanes. Okay, so I see that in a second I'm going to be fighting the Litterbrax GUG here. It says cooldown, expel waste material across the battlefield. So it has a cooldown effect that expels waste. Now we don't know what that means, and all the effects, some of them can be very obvious what they do. Like we have one that creates a perfect copy. So in theory we're going to get a clone of him when we play him. And then it has an end of round ability that is they both lose 1 health. So we will have to see, let's go ahead and add it. So yeah, we get our perfect copy there. It is a 1016 that has the same ability. All right. So we can go ahead and click go. Anytime you click go, all the enemies that are on the back line are going to move to the front line, and they will battle. When they battle, its attack is going to damage your health. Your attack is going to damage its health. Okay. Your GUGs always attack first. Okay. Even if a GUG dies, though, it will do its damage. Okay, so that's important to know. So even if my first attack there killed it, it still attacks and does its damage as well. Okay. Another thing that happens, and you might have saw it just then, go ahead and turn on that other tooltip. Now I call this stuff GUG Nectar. According to the game, like AI, like if you generate a GUG that generates coins, these are called coins. I think the official game name is GLUG. But anytime you have a GUG unopposed on the field, instead of attacking, it will instead generate that GUG Nectar based on its attack. So because our Gloplin clone here did not get attacked that turn, he generated 10 of that GUG Nectar. And that's what we're going to use in the shops anytime we get a shopping turn. So I'm going to click go. There are no enemies this round, which means they will both generate Nectar. And because this GUG is on our backline here in slot 1, he's going to be gaining 1 health, just like he did last turn. So we gain the 20 GUG Nectar there. We gain the 1 health. They both lose 1 health, because remember, that is their end of turn ability. Now, a way we could avoid that is by pulling Gloplin back, and he would lose 1 and gain 1 every turn. The clone is just a token, so we're going to lose it after this round anyway. So we could kind of avoid that Gloplin dying of its own ability by just having it gain 1 health each turn. So again, we're unopposed, so they'll both generate Nectar. Gloplin will gain 1 health and lose 1 health due to its ability. But we do have another Litterbrax on the way up. We haven't got to see its cooldown ability because we have killed it before it got to cooldown both turns. Now, once you win a battle, you will notice that it will show you what Mother Morula's health is at and how much GUG Nectar you are at the end of the battle. It'll show you who you have left on your team as well as the enemies that you have defeated. I didn't mention this in the battle, but you do also have this box here which shows you which enemies are on the way. So let's go to the store. That always happens after your first battle. And here you can buy things. Now, something that's important to note is that items of the same item type double in price every time you buy one. So like if there were 2 GUGs here, the first GUG would cost 10, the next GUG would double and cost 20. So I'm going to go ahead and buy that GUG. That leaves me with 36. Now you'll see there's 2 potions here. One costs 6, one costs 3. They both will increase the health of you and your Mother Morula. Okay, which ones you buff is totally up to you, but you do want to buy the more expensive ones first if you're buying all of them, and I'll show you the reason why. If we bought this one first, it would cost us 3, and then this one would double in price and cost us 12, so the price would be 15 total. Instead, if we buy the 6 first, this one will double to the price of 6, and now it will only cost us 12 instead of the 15 that it would have. Now when you buy an attack, it's going to add a random amount of attack to that GUG as well. So we got our Mother Morula up to 19 health, and we got this GUG up to a 617, which is a pretty good beater for smacking those enemies. Now, here's where something cool can happen. It did not happen this time, but if you get another 2-lane encounter instead of the scheduled 3-lane encounter, that basically means that you're getting an extra Transcendent. So you'll refight a really low-level first-time battle, and you'll get to Transcend again immediately. We didn't get that. You still get to Transcend after this battle, but we do have a little increased difficulty with the 3-lane. So we're going to go ahead and put Gloplin in to get that clone. And now the clone just spawned, so we can move him into this lane to fight the Flogulorb here. He says he grows tiny tentacles that increase damage the longer this GUG is on the battlefield. Now that won't really matter to us because we're going to kill him immediately. We can't pull Gloplin back to the back line because we played him this turn. And once you move a GUG on any turn, he's going to be stuck there for the turn. The only reason we got to move the Gloplin clone was specifically because it was generated. So these are going to generate their nectar. He's going to battle, so no nectar from him. And then at the end of the round, our clone and Gloplin are going to lose its health. Now we're going to move Gloplin back for the rest of the fight here so that that effect is not making him lose health. You kind of really want to balance whether or not you're generating nectar with your GUGs or are using these things on the back line. Like right now I have this GUG who only has 3 attacks. So what I could do is fill up the first 2 health gaining slots and move this GUG into the attack gaining slot. And because of that, I could start buffing his attack up from 3 because they're going to keep these stat boosts in between each round. The only things that won't happen are if it says, you know, it gains it for 1 turn or something like that. This guy creates fissures that deal damage each round to a random GUG when he enters the battlefield. But unfortunately for him, he's going to die immediately. So that's not going to affect us. So we're back up to 50 GUG Nectar. Mother Morula still at 19 health. And we're going to get our second amniotic pool here. So now we get to Transcend again. And here it can be a little bit of a strategic planning point because you know you're going to get some stat increases from typing in, you know, these things, you know, and what you choose can affect how those stat increases work. So like this GUG is a 615, and if I think he's good enough already, I might think, well, I'll use the Transcend on this GUG who's weaker because I know he's going to get those stat increases. Sometimes you might have a GUG that is themed around something. Like if you made a GUG that was themed around potato chips, it might say gain something for every potato chip GUG, so maybe you want to create another potato chip GUG. There's really a lot of strategy that comes into play when you're using the Transcend step and making sure that you use it right. Now, one thing that is important to note is once you have typed in a prompt, it will always create the same GUG. So if we went back to typing in the exact same thing we did for Gloppin here, we would get another Gloppin, which would be, you know, that's an option. We could do that. But instead, let's just try something else. And just to kind of show you guys another option, another way to play, you can just click this randomize button here, and it'll just put in a word. And there's really no limit to it. I haven't seen it double a word yet. Sometimes they will create awesome GUGs, sometimes they will not. It's really, you know, that's part of the GUG dice, is you do not know what's going to happen. I typically just really like to put in vegetables because I think that's funny. Like Big Pumpkin Mafia, I think would be funny. So let's give that a go. And we got Pumpkron here. It says, enter battle. If there's an allied GUG next to Pumpkron, heal it for 2 health. And something to know about healing is you can overheal in GUG. So if something only has 5 health, it doesn't matter. You can heal it up to 6, and you can heal it up to 7, and it will keep that health forever. So not only does this heal for 2, it also gains a health at the end of every round. He has a nice little pumpkin look to him as well, so that's fun. Now, because of our turn order, you know, we've already done the 2, 3, and I believe the 4, so we should be on our second 3 here, which means we're close to beating it. So we've got Kitchakrat, which scatters chocolate bars on the battlefield, attracting all Gugs toward it. So he might actually move the Gugs around. Sometimes those effects are more cosmetic than they are functional, but you do have to be on the lookout for those. We also have Floggulorb here, which has grow tiny tentacles that increase damage the longer it's on the field. So we saw that one earlier, but we killed it immediately, so we didn't really have to worry about it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw Gloplin on this corner here, because I know he's going to generate his clone in front of one of those. And now that I have allies, I'm going to play my Pumpkron. So he gave the 2 health to those beside him. He kind of undoes the negative there of Gloplin losing health at the end of the round. Oh, he did. So you can see that Kitchakrat there pulled that Floggulorb to the middle, and so his attraction there pulled his allies to the same slot as him. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull out Glopulin and my Pumpkron, and I'm going to put Pumpkron here in the middle and let him start gaining some attack. Now, I do have a shop coming up next. I know that because I just transcended. So I need to be thinking about my Gug Nectar and do I have enough? And the way I look at it is the first shop you really want 40, the second shop you really want 100, and then for the third shop really you want to be somewhere around 500. If you want to guarantee the ability to buy everything is really what I mean by that. And sometimes that second shop can have a lot of stuff in there, so 100 or even 200 might not be enough. But just something to think about is your generation of that currency to be using. And so I'm going to go ahead and put another Gug right here and let him start gaining as well, which is just going to make my Pumpkron gain health instead of the attack that I had planned for it. Alright, so we got a new one. This is Thiosaurus. Crush the opposing Gug between its powerful thighs, dealing massive damage. So when it enters battle, it has an enter deal damage effect. So we're going to move this here and we will see how much damage it does. And that will give us some knowledge for the future fight. We know we still have another Gug incoming. It looks kind of like a machine style Gug, so we'll have to see what happens there. Alright, so he did a lot of damage. I think that was 10 actually. It was actually enough that combined with his attack killed our clone there. Now that was just a clone, so we don't really have to worry about anything because, you know, we were going to lose him at the end of the round anyway. And we can just put Gloplin back in to have that effect happen again. We actually created a very nice, powerful Gug there. Alright, so this one says, enters battle, spew a pile of curious contraptions. Now, again, that's one of those effects that could be just cosmetic. You know, he might just say, spew, I launch contraptions, or it could generate new Gugs that are contraptions. We won't know until the round starts. Yeah, so it seems like it was just some kind of cosmetic effect. It might have added an effect to the Gugs that say it's surrounded by curious contraptions or something like that. Alright, so we're at our second shop here, and I can demonstrate that doubling of price on the Gugs here. We have another Gug back here, the Goopopotamus, which is an 8-5, and these guys are 3-3. So, just to show you, and I'll show you the problem with the price with it doubling every time, how big of an issue that can become. So we buy that one, and now you'll notice these other 2 potions have become 56 and 48. And now if we buy this Gug for 20, suddenly the other 2 Gugs are now 40. And if we buy this Gug for 40, you'll see that this Gug has now become 80. And so that doubling price thing there can be very, very tricky as far as, you know, just balancing that out and making sure that you don't buy the wrong thing in the wrong order. Alright, we're traveling with our mother to Fluffernub Forest, a serene woodland of cotton candy trees and snuggling creatures. Oh, so that must have only been our first time in lane 3 earlier. I was thinking we were almost finished, but we've actually just begun. So we've got a really powerful Gug here. So I'm going to go ahead and take our really weak one, and we're going to transcend him. And we are going to name him Mega Soda Demon. How about that? Another fun fact about the screen here that I haven't really mentioned is that you can check on the side over here all of your Gugs at any given time. We got Fizzlegupple, deploys a burst of carbonated soda dealing random damage to target enemy Gug. So that's fun. He gains +7 attack and +5 health. So we'll add him to the team. He's got a great look to him. But like I was saying, over here you can hover over these and see their effects. Kind of like the card version of them. And if you want to keep it open, like you want to keep referencing it, you can just click on it and it'll lock it in place. And so you can click on each of them if you want and have them locked out there. Or you can click on them again to send them back. And if you're curious about anything that's happened on the battlefield, that's what this right here is. This is the log of the action history. And so it will show you who did what and what they did and how that effect worked, you know, at least if it's something fairly obvious. So this is our first 4-lane. I was thinking we'd already done a 4-lane, but we had not. So I'm just going to show you guys what happens when you leave it unopposed. He has an enter battle phase that's going to make their attacks go lower, so that's unfortunate. Because of that, I'm going to take my lowest attack one and let him get an attack bonus and let my other one here get an attack bonus. But I'm just going to take the hit from him this time and let you guys see how that works. So if you do not oppose a GUG with anything, they will attack Mother Morula here. So you can see he lowered everybody's attack by 1, which included himself, but Mother Morula lost an attack because of that. So let's go ahead and start with our battle setup here. Bringing in our team. We should have given old Fizzgupple a try to see how his damaging effect does. Let's go ahead and do that now. I don't know if he randomly chooses the target or if we randomly choose the target. You got to make sure you aim your GUGs correctly back here. I'm just going to switch them out. Okay, yeah, so it just randomly chooses. It looks like he did 3 damage was his soda burst there. Now, something you might not have noticed that happened there was, so these little exclamation marks mean something's going to move into that slot, and so they can move into that slot, and they might have an effect that triggers when that happens. And then another thing was the one that moved in. I think he summoned like a crispy something. I didn't read it quickly enough, but it's very important to read the GUGs that are incoming, because some will say like, you know, just destroy all the GUGs on the battlefield, and so you really want to pull out the ones that you want to live. This one says attracts a random GUG on the battlefield with its mesmerizing charm, so it might move one to the same slot, similar to the way that Kitchakrat one did earlier. And Pinkelfert's here, it says when it enters, emit a shimmering pink glow that confuses all enemy GUGs, and at the end of the round, they all feel a persistent tickling sensation. Normally things like that are just going to be little cosmetic things, like they might get something like where it says tickled here. Yeah, you can actually see it. It says enemy creatures feel a tickling sensation. But it's just cosmetic. You know, unless another GUG comes out that destroys all tickled GUGs, you should be fine. Now I've let Gloplin's health get dangerously low there. And when you have a permanent GUG die, it is permanently removed from your party. You do not get it back. So you want to make sure that you're healing up those ones, especially if they're one like Gloplin who's losing health every turn. Oh, I didn't read Flufflewump. Yeah. Looks like its ability is target is transformed into a soft pillow until next turn. I don't know who he did that to, but luckily it doesn't seem to have killed anybody, unless we had another GUG there. I don't think we did though. There we go. Back to the shop. And we don't really have any room for another GUG. We do have 2 that are only 8 attack though, so buying through that help and getting that extra attack bonus there certainly could be worth it. So we'll go ahead and do that. If you don't have room for a GUG, it'll let you buy it, but you have no space for it to go. So it'll just waste your money, so don't do that. We only got 2 battles left, 1 3-lane battle and 1 4-lane battle. So we've just got to make sure that we do it successfully. And once again, I'm not following my own advice. I didn't read either of those guys, so they could have been absolutely detrimental to our health there. Wow, a 10-10. That's a big boy. Pull surrounding GUGs closer, binding them with affection. I'm going to make sure that we have a big one there, and I'm going to pull everybody else out. That way we don't have to worry about him pulling everybody into one slot and killing them all in one move there. Alright, so I don't think anything here is going to end us. So I'm just going to make sure that we have some high health Gugs in. Buff their health with that. And oh, we took a hit because see that one attracted the Gug and moved its slot over here. So that's something you got to be careful for, is remembering that they can move. And if you have two on the same slot, you guys haven't seen this yet, you have a little arrow down here to switch between the two of them and move them to where you'd like. I believe that's the last one for this round, and we will move on to our final Transcend, and then we'll move on to our final battle. And that will be in the Slime Kingdom, a land of only yellow slime. So we'll take our last Gug and transcend him. Don't think that you have to keep a Gug. If you don't like one of them's effect, you can always transcend them into a new Gug as well. We're going to name this one Give. We want something that goes crazy. Give allies 15 HP. So hopefully this guy will give our allies 15 HP. Sometimes it'll let you do that. Yeah, so at the start of the round, all allied Gugs gain 15 health. That's awesome. He himself doesn't get much. He's a 3/5. But all allied Gugs includes himself. So we're buffing everybody with a cute little yellow guy with little bumps all over him. We have a very diverse set of Gugs here. Oh, Gloopy Yoke. Oh, and he seems to transform Gugs, I think, beside him into slime, so that's interesting. So we're going to use Gloplin here to get our clone. We're going to go ahead and put in Outrish, who should start buffing everybody's health, and then Pumpcron will also buff everybody's health. And his effect is not an Enter the Battlefield, it's at the start of the round. So he should, yeah, there, the new round starts and everybody gets a nice little buff. Pink Larva over here has 10 health. I'm going to go ahead and switch out Gloplin just to do that extra damage to Larva there. And luckily, we don't have much that we have to worry about here. I don't know what happened. Seems like we might have a little bit of a bug there. I'll tell you what. I'm going to go back to the main menu. This is just the demo, so sometimes you can overload it. So if that happens, you can go back to the main menu and then hit right back into the continue. Oh. And I guess I can't continue. That might have happened because we were about to win, I think, within the next turn or so. So maybe that turn actually happened and it caused their Gugs to die, and so that run actually did end. It just kind of bugged out there a little bit. But that's fine. You guys do get the basics on how the game works. I'm going to go ahead and show you these other two things, since you will probably unlock those as you're playing. The Gug Garden is simply where all the Gugs that you have discovered live. This includes the enemy Gugs and the Gugs that you have created. So when you click on one, it will show you the amount that it adds to each of its stats and tell you what it is that it does. One thing that it does not do is tell you what prompt you use. So make sure, you know, if you're creating a Gug and you really like it, that you write that prompt down so you can create that Gug again in the future. The amniotic pool will let you test out your Gugs before you actually start. So if I want to know what the super water bottle Gug does, I can try it right here. It'll go ahead and generate that Gug, and I will know before I go and try to create it in a run. This kind of lets you prepare if you want to do a really like hardcore run where you're trying to just win. This is a way to practice that process and figure out if the Gug that you are wanting to create can be created and do what you want it to do. Like Hydro Bottle here absorbs water from the battlefield to refill its health. So it'll probably gain some kind of health or maybe heal itself when it enters the battlefield. and you just hit the add to team button and you can try all over again. So I hope that answers all of your guys' questions about GUG. I hope now you know how to play if you want to give it a try. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, stick around on the channel. I have lots of GUG content, and I upload new stuff nearly every day. You guys have a great one.